Hello everyone, welcome to another rapid speedrun game against My Smile, rated 1441, as we enter a Sicilian. So we bring a knight towards the center and he stops us. He plays some type of delayed alapin. Let's play e5 and clamp down on the pawn break he's looking forward to. He plays it anyway. So let's take first with our flank pawn. And now we could take again. It's interesting. First I'm going to throw in a check and see how he blocks. He blocks with the knight. So I got in my free development. He takes with the knight. I don't want him to have a pawn duo in the center that could potentially push. So I'm going to take that pawn and leave him to just one. He takes back with the knight. This isn't a threat, it's just a trade. Do we have the opportunity now to play d5 and equalize on the spot? If he takes our knight, we take back. Okay, we get an isolated pawn at the end of that line, but we can give him an isolated pawn, although he would have the bishop pair. You could play d5. Let's play d5. We'll free our position. Now we have no development problems and we equalize space in the center. We can go down a queenless middle game towards an endgame if we trade everything right now. He could take the pawn, he could push the pawn, he could take the knight. Okay, so he takes the pawn and we take back with the queen, threatening to win his piece. So he develops and defends immediately with no thought. Okay. Now we can avoid him. Well, if he takes, we could take with the queen. And then he could go here and lose a piece. That's interesting. So in that case, let's let him lose a piece and develop a knight casually. Okay, he just develops. He's not falling for my tricks. So let's castle. He'll probably castle. And now we have this one last opportunity if we want to mess up the pawn structure. Probably not worth the bishop, but our queen is hanging. Is there anywhere good to move our queen? You could go to a5, I guess, but that's kind of weird. I'm just going to take it. We'll play a game where he has a weird structure, but he has the bishops. Okay. So now he has an isolated pawn, so we have clear plans of attacking that with a rook on the c file. For the time being, we can improve a piece for free. He can try to pin us and cause complications, but we get a pawn, he gets a queen. We get a queen, he gets a piece. So let's be a little careful. Our queen doesn't really want to be here. There's a little too much activity going on. So I think now the a5 square is the safest square with one less knight than before, and also comes with a threat. So he moves the queen to defend. Fine. We don't want him to counter ruin our pawn structure. So let's take his centralized knight and see how he recaptures. Bishop or pawn. Either way, the pawn's still isolated. If he takes with the bishop, that threatens to ruin our pawn structure. But we have two responses. One is free developing move, supported by the queen. The other is free improving move, although this pawn is now doubly defended. So let's throw in the free move, which is the bishop out. Maybe he goes here to improve his bishop. In which case, that's a nice battery for him. He has nice active bishops. We'll take it. And then he won't have the bishop pair. But instead, he moves the queen. The drawback of this move is it walks directly into this move, which looks strong. So let's do that. It also walks into this alignment, so you could have played rook d8, which keeps the bishop at bay. But I feel like the knight move is even stronger, just being more direct. It also double hits the pawn. Is he going to go into the bishop alignment? Maybe we can win material with a funky move. If he goes forward and attacks my pieces, you could maybe just drop the bishop back to a defended square. Okay, so he goes here, which defends the pawn, hits the knight one time, but puts the queen again in a weird alignment with the rooks. Maybe he wants to go here. Well, he can't go there. He would have went there immediately. I mean, I guess I'll develop a piece and just put this alignment. It seems, without calculating, it seems very logical. You definitely don't want your queen here now. I mean, this is a move, and then he can take, but then you can take, he can take, and you can take, and you win a pawn. It's opposite color bishops, though, but you win a pawn. What else is there? You're also x-raying the bishop behind, so he's kind of, he needs to be super careful. And I can easily, add more attackers and stuff. This guy's also being pressured. So this rook, he might not want to move. He might want to move this rook at some point. But right now the queen is just in the wrong spot. But I don't know what to do about it. That's the thing. I guess you should go here. But can I sack stuff? Like, I get a pawn. Okay, he goes here. This is in the alignment. It's also in this alignment now. We can even do this, funnily enough. And that just compounds the problems before we do our knight discovery, whatever that may be. Actually, this one is interesting right now. Hits his queen, although it activates his rook and everything else. So let's just bring in the last piece. Now we have everything doing something, and we can look for the best tactical shot now. I'm sure you had them along the way. So he kicks our knight, which we want to move anyway. He probably thinks he's winning a bishop, but the bishop is defended by the queen, first of all. Second of all, we can defend it with the knight. Before, if we moved our knight here to hit the rook and the queen could have taken the knight, but he just ruined that chance by putting the pawn in the way. So now knight here protects the bishop, hits the queen, and more stuff, and the knight will be double hitting with the rook, winning at least a piece with check, collapsing everything with devastating impact. So there's material hanging literally everywhere, but let's go for this one, which hits the queen and the rook and the bishop. The game is over by move 18. He put up a good fight up until now, but that whole queen alignment was really the problem with the rook and with the bishop. Even without calculating, you should just expect trouble to come from that. What did he do? He took the knight, but what about this queen? Oh, he didn't even see it. Wow. He only saw the rook, the attack on the rook. I mean, But my knight was hanging. He must have assumed there was something to it if I threw my knight there. That's weird. So we have a Sicilian. Development, center, center, development. Taking a central pawn with a flank pawn, trying to prevent ourselves from being overrun and steamrolled by a super strong pawn center. That's why we're going to take twice. But even before we take twice, we just throw in a free developing move so we can castle a little quicker. He blocks one way or another, and now we've ruined the pawn duo. He takes. Now, my first instinct was to bring this knight out and hit this, and I thought he'll probably take our knight. We'll take one way or another, and then he'll push the pawn. I said, okay, that's fine, but maybe since we actually can play d5, we should. Apparently, it's my one inaccuracy of the game, lowering us to 93%. No mistakes, no blunders, but apparently they just wanted the knight development move better than this because they're saying that he has a decent line. What is that line? So we trade. Oh, is it just the isolated? Oh, no, okay. And then he has to find, in order for this to be anything for him, queen d4, hitting the bishop and the pawn. So you don't want to go back home because that's like a waste. So I like queen e7. That protects everything. You could even probably jettison this. Let's say takes, takes. Now again, there's a double threat, but you can counter that with your queen. Okay, there's some weird computer line that apparently is just good for him. You know, not amazing, but it says it's better. But we play d5 anyway because we're not computers and we don't know the line. He takes. He doesn't find the 3,700 rated engine line. He does a normal thing. I put a pawn in the center. I'm threatening to win his pawn, so he takes. We recapture. It's a completely even game, which is what I thought it was. So this makes sense. Now, development, center, and king safety. King safety and development. And this is just ruining his pawn structure, not wasting time. I end up going to queen a5 anyway, but now I don't have a weird bishop that's kind of in the way, going to get hit by pawns. So I decide to go down this version. So we move our queen. Let's say we improve it for free. And now this is just a neutral trade to get more material off the board so that he doesn't hurt us with all of the extra resources that he has. I also wanted to see what he does with the bishop or pawn. If he moves the pawn, we have different ideas. Also, there's this idea. There's just a lot of different ideas. So we develop for free. And then we improve a piece for free. And then we develop kind of for free. And then we develop again kind of for free. And the engine still says it's an equal game. But, I mean, I have my rooks in the center, my knight in the center, my bishop. You know how hard this is to play correctly? Or not end up just losing a pawn at the end of some super long line because of how active black is. You don't have to know the line, you just kind of get the sense that that might happen. So he's supposed to play super accurately and immediately blunders. The engine wants him to go for the queen trade just to get out of all possible alignments and simplify. And then you'll end up trading everything into a draw. That's what this engine wants. But he tries to kick the knight immediately and loses on the spot. So there's that. If we just take a quick look at the engine version of the queen trade. So let's say we entertain this. He takes back. Okay, Okay, let's go down this line. He's going to improve his rook at some point, I imagine. Okay, free stuff. Free stuff. We get it back. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and it's just going to end up like this. And this is just a draw. I mean, I guess some people will mess this up, but this is an easy draw. But as white, you shouldn't really be thrilled about going down lines that are easy draws for you. You should try to win the game. So it's interesting. And that d5 move in the beginning brings us down to a 93 accuracy. If we just develop and he does take this, and we take and he pushes. So the engine's talking about queen e7. Since your bishop's already developed, you're not even going to be blocking it. This pins the pawn, this attacks the pawn. He supports the pawn, but it's still pinned, so we have time to go here and even hop this in the center. So your knight has good squares. It's not even being kicked to a bad location. So this all makes perfect sense. And I guess the one thing to explore would be the best line, the engine line. I guess it makes kind of sense because he has a lot of pressure with this queen. So maybe develop first, get that knight here. Then you could definitely play d5 if available. It also supports d5 and makes your position safer. So it's definitely a more logical move in hindsight. So this is +1. I guess he's just up a pawn out of this. Okay. Yeah, that all makes sense. Just double checking. Alright guys, submit your games in my Discord. Goodbye.